Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for coming and joining us. As our Bava Daf, Michal Avram, got married tonight to his Kala Shira in a very beautiful wedding ceremony, and he is missing. He really never misses, but he's missing because he got married. Otherwise, he would be here. And
excuse.
Yeah,
Something that one?
Yeah, it's
Wow. He better get a note from his wife.
We are sponsored by A.B. Spry, from Nachas, from all of his children, by Shalom Fogeli, Nishmas Rav Yaakov Zeb, and Rav Yehuda Aryeh, Maris Rivka Bas Rav Yaakov Yosef, Maris Sivya Miriam Bas Rav Gad, and Rav Yosef Ben Tzim Ben Rav Yaakov Zev, by Baruch Ian, Leon Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Gittel, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKoyin, Yaakov Yimansky, HaKar Satov to the Rav and the Zoom family, and Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Ed Salah from London, and Joshua Rosenberg. We learned for Bava Daf, Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel. We also learned from Saba's Mechutin, Chaim Yisrael ben Freda Adash, who's in the hospital and needs a big refuah in Eretz Yisrael. We are holding on Chavav Amid Beis at the two dots. So if you remember, Ama Ula Ilona Samach Lameitzar, if Marshall has a tree that's near Mark's border, it's within 16 amas of Mark's border, Gazlanhu. That tree is a thief because it's nursing, since it nurses for 16 amas. That means it's invading Mark's property and nursing illegally from Mark's property, and therefore it cannot be considered something that grows from Admasacha, from your land, because it grows also from Mark's land, and therefore he cannot bring Bikurim. Taisa says it's because he's a thief, and you don't bring Bikurim from something that's stolen. Botzei Beirach Niyat Hashem. So the Gemara says, Minole L'ulaha. So now the Gemara says, how do we know that a tree, its roots nurse to the extent of 16 amas? How do we know that? So, if it's from that which we learned, 10 saplings, that's equally scattered in Beisa, in an area of 2,500 amas. So, they utilize the entire area, and therefore Chorshin Kol Beisa, you could plow the entire Beisa b'shvilan because of them ad Rosh Hashanah, until Rosh Hashanah, even though you have to stop before the Shemitah, that it shouldn't be considered that you're plowing for Shemitah. But here, since you're doing it for the benefits of the saplings now, you could plow all the way up to Rosh Hashanah. So now, if Kama Havaluhu, how much is the acreage of a Beisa? Trei Alfin v'Chamei Shmeya. A Beisa is 2,500 Garmidei. Now, if it's 2,500 Garmidei, so then 10 into 2,500 means that each tree is 250. L'kol chad v'chad kami matila, how much do you give to each one? Masin v'chamshin. Says the Gemara, that's not holoi aveda ula. Ula says that a tree is yonik, 16 in each direction. That's 32 by 32. 32 by 32, how much is 32 times 32? 1,024. It's a lot more than 250 amas. We learned in the Mishnah, Shloisha Ilanai Shel Gimel B'nei Adam. If, let's say, Shloisha Ilanais Shel Gimel B'nei Adam, you have Yisrael, Mark, and Irving have a tree in a Beisa, a big tree. Not a sapling, a big tree. Now the din is that a grain field, you're only allowed to plow up till up till Pesach, before Shemitah. An orchard, you're allowed to do work up till Shavuos. So now, what's an orchard? If there are 3 trees, so they combine, the tree of Yisrael, the tree of Mark, and the tree of Irving combined to give it a din of an orchard, and Harelu mitztarfin v'chorshin kol beisa b'shvilam. The whole beisa because of them. Now, okay, so now we're getting closer, because kama havalu, how much is a beisa? Trei alfei, 2,500. Trei alfei v'heimeya, 2,500 gamide. Now, 3 into 2,500, how much is 300 into 2,500? 3 into 2,500, I did the arithmetic already, is 833 and a third. So, l'kol chad kama matile, tamana meya v'tlase v'tlasa. 833 v'tilsa and a third. But 833 and a third still falls short from 1,024. Akate nefesh le'ula. Ula's is more. Ula says that it's 1,024, 16 by 16, which is, 16 in each direction, which is 32 by 32, is 1,024. 32 times 32 is 1,024. So the Gemara says, loidak, it wasn't being exact. Says the Gemara, we could say we're not being exact if it results in a chumrah. But here it results in a kula that you don't have to bring bikurim. So, where it's a chumrah, but lekula, to say that you don't bring bikurim, would we say that we're not being precise? So now the Gemara says something which is obvious. As Mark knows with all of his arithmetic, Mark knows that...
Rabbi, we didn't welcome people.
Oh, okay, thank you. As we welcome in Irving Fishbaum and Mark Frankel and Yisrael Fisher and Saba and Marshall Castle and Shalom Fogel and Eddie Chazan, we wouldn't want to forget him, Menachem Yamansky and Yitzi Fuchs, Dr. Black, Aaron Swade, Mel Zachter, Michael, Reuven Pollack, Nachman Chapler, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman, Rabbi Kranz, Shelley Zeitland. Here in the shul we are blessed with Avram Rezepkowitz. I asked Avram to come, and he made me happy. Thank you, Avram. And Gedalia Engel. We need everybody because we have to make up for the presence of Michal Avram. You know, it takes a lot to make up for Michal Avram. Ruvain Shannon, Rich Leonard, Barish Gesserman, David Helfgott on Kol Loshin. Small crowd here tonight. I wonder where everybody is.
There are eating franks and beans tonight to celebrate Michal Avram's Chasna, right?
Well, Richard Rosenzweig just showed up. So, the Gemara says the obvious thing, and that is if a tree is yonik 16 amas in each direction, that's not a square. When we said 32 by 32 is 1,024, that's the area of a square 32 by 32. But here, if it's yonik 16 in each direction, that's not a square, that's a circle. Because that means in every direction it has a radii of, it's radii, right? No, radii in the plural.
No, just be radius, you wouldn't say radii.
Why not?
All the trees have a radii, then you'd say. All the roots have.
No, the roots have radii, because it's in every direction.
Okay, so radii is the plural of radius.
Right, so I'm right. It's radii in every direction.
You usually say radius.
Radius in every direction?
Yeah, you usually say radius.
I'm going with radii.
I am also.
Radioactive to me.
Yeah.
Plural of radius is radii.
Of course it's radii. Of course it's radii.
Or radiuses.
So it just depends how you use it in the sentence. All the trees have a radii.
Not trees.
Oh, the roots, okay.
The roots.
Have a radii.
Right.
The roots of all the, okay.
Anyway, while Barish struggles with the syntax,
Is everyone circle, so it shouldn't be radii. If you have multiple circles, that would make sense.
No, how, in circles,
Multiple trees with a radii.
Right.
He's saying that if you start in the center and you go around
in all different directions, you have many radii in the same circle.
Okay, or a diameter.
No, that's one radius.
No,
I think you say radii when talking about multiple trees with multiple roots.
when you go, when you have to the right, to the left, to east, west, south, north, there are many radii in that circle.
But I think it's commonly referred to as a radius. That circle has a radius of X.
Yes, that's true. But I'm not making that point. Anyway, okay. Okay. The circle has many radii because we're computing the roots in every direction. Now, they never extend past 16 amas. So that's a circle with a diameter of 32 amas. A circle with a diameter of 32 amas is a quarter less than the square that it is inscribed in. So therefore, another way to put that is the circle is 3/4 of a square of 32 by 32. So how do you figure that out? You divide 1,024 by 4, which is 256. And then when you want to find out how much 3/4 is, you do 256 times 3. 256 times 3 is 768. So now it would turn out that it's 768. And that's what the Gemara says over here. Says the Gemara, Mi savrit biribua ka'amrinan? Do you think when you do the 16 amas of the yanika in each direction, it's inside a square? It can't be inside the square because then the diagonal would be longer than 16 amas. Bi'igula ka'amrinan. It's talking about in a circle. So michte kama meruva yoiser al ha'igel. How much is the square that a circle is inscribed in more than its circle? Ravia, a quarter more. So that means that the circle is 3/4 of a square of 1,024. So Pasalu, if you take 3/4 of 1,024, so Pasalu Zayin Me'ah V'Shitin V'Tamne, it comes out to 768. Oh, but 768 is not, says the Gemara, it comes out that the, it comes out, Ula said, excuse me, according to the Mishnah that talks about the 3 trees, the 3 trees would be 833 1/3. And we're saying that the amount is 768. So says the Gemara, Akati Posle Palga da Amsa. It comes out that 833 1/3 would be of a radius of 16.5 and not 16. Says the Gemara, and then Hainu Deloidak. That's what we mean that we're not exact. Ulechumra loidak, and we're not exact lechumra, and that is that we say that when don't you bring bikurim only by 833 1/3. So we're making it a bigger amount lechumra, and that we could do.
Rabbi?
Yes.
If you do the math, it's pi r squared, and it came to 803.84, but pi is inexact.
Right, that's correct.
So they don't use pi
Right,
exactly.
right.
So they would come to about 833 on that basis.
That's correct, because they're not doing it. That's correct. Now, Tajma, So now, what the Gemara now is going to attack Ula, because Ula said that if the tree encroaches within 16 amas of somebody's border, you don't bring Bikurim. Tajma, Konashtei Ilonis. Excuse me, I skipped. Tajma, Hakoine Ilon Vikarkai. If you buy a tree and a piece of real estate, maybe Vikaire. Now that implies even a tiny piece of real estate. My lav kolshu. Doesn't that mean even if you buy a tree with a little piece of real estate, you're already allowed to bring Bikurim? But here we said if it's yoinik within 16 amas of somebody else's tree property, says, well, lo, yudvav ama. It means you buy a tree together with 16 amas in each direction. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to bring Bikurim. Tajma, kanashnei lanis b'sei shel chavei, right? If Mark buys 2 trees in my property, maybe he could bring Bikurim, but ve'enoi kairei, but he can't say the formula. And the reason why he can't say the formula is because it's not, he doesn't own any land, and since he doesn't own any land, he can't say ad moska. Hashleisha, but if he brought 3 trees where he gets land with it, then maybe v'kairei. But why should he be able to be maybe v'kairei? It's still being yoinik from the rest of my property. My lav kosher, doesn't that mean that he gets with the 3 trees just the ground that it's upon? And yet we say that he could still bring Bikurim. It means that he gets the 16 amas all around. Tajma, Rabbi Kiva Aimer, this is a famous Mishnah. Karka kosher, if you have a minuscule piece of real estate, chayiv b'peya, you have to, from that minuscule piece of real estate, you have to give the peya, the corner, for the poor. Or bikurim, you have to give the first fruits. V'kaismin alav pruzbel, and if a debtor has a minuscule amount of real estate, the creditor could write a pruzbel. The institution of pruzbel was made that shvius should not relinquish the debt. But they only instituted the pruzbel for a milsa de shchicha, for a normal situation. To give a loan to somebody that doesn't have any real estate to back it up is not normal, and in case that's not normal, they didn't institute a pruzbel. However, even if he only has a minuscule amount of real estate, that's enough. Let's see why Shelley is not muted. We'll mute him. And and with a minuscule amount of karka, you could acquire 100 bowling balls. Because remember, we said that's kinyan agav. So when I acquire that minuscule amount of real estate from you, I could acquire all the movables with it, even 100 bowling balls, without making a kinyan mashicha on the 100 bowling balls. So here it says that if I acquire a minimal amount of karka, I have to bring bikurim, even though it encroaches 16 amas into a person's property. Says Gemara, no. What are we talking about? Bikurim? That's wheat. Wheat grows just on a minuscule piece of karka and doesn't encroach in the other person's field. And dekanami, that we're talking about wheat, diktani kolshu. What can you plant on a kolshu? Obviously, you can't plant a tree on a kolshu, on a pinprick of real estate. So it's talking about something small like wheat. I'm extremely delighted to welcome in. Wait till he hooks up before I make an announcement. I'm extremely delighted to welcome in Avram Schenkman. Avram, you are missed, and we're delighted to have you. We really are. And Yisrael Kaplan has joined us. Again, the Eilam. Together we wish with all our heart a mazel tov to Bava Basra Daf Michal Avram, who got married earlier today, and we wish him that he should be zeicha to have tremendous happiness with his kala Shira. Now,
Rabbi Weiss,
yes.
why did the Gemara use the Yud and the Vav as opposed to Tes Zion.
Something, I think that's the printer's discretion. And maybe he just didn't have room on that line. Usually we don't use Yud Vav because it's the name of Hashem. And that's
what.
what.
Twice.
Yeah. It's a printer's thing. I wouldn't be surprised if in other editions of Shas it doesn't have Yud Vav. What does the article have, the newest edition?
I don't have it.
Tajma. Elon, miktsasai be'eretz or miktsasai b'chutz la'aretz. You have a tree that part of it is growing in Eretz Yisrael, and part of it is growing outside of Eretz Yisrael. So Rebbe holds it's a mishmash. Tevel v'chulin mu'uravim zeh b'zeh. Rebbe says that we say that in this tree we have tevel, untithed produce, and chulin mixed one with the other. Divrei Rebbe. We don't. While Reb Shimon Gamliel says no, it's simple. That which grows on the Eretz Yisrael side belongs to Eretz Yisrael, and that which grows on the Chutz La'aretz side is Chutz La'aretz. So what grows in Eretz Yisrael is tevel, it's untied produce, and what goes in Chutz La'aretz is regular chulin. Shimon Gamliel Aimer Hagadol b'chiyav chayiv and Hagadol b'tur p'tur. What do you ask?
But the wrong land around Eretz Yisrael is part of Eretz Yisrael.
No, we mean the area outside of Eretz Yisrael. You're talking about you're talking about Aram Tzoiva and Aram Narayim. That has special halachas, but that's only one area. That's not all around Eretz Yisrael. That's just the area that was annexed by David HaMelech. Now,
My art scroll also says Yud Vav.
Ad kan loy pligi ela demar savar yesh breira. Now here yesh breira doesn't mean that like it usually means retroactive clarification. Here it means that Reb Shimon Gamliel says that you could say that which grows in Eretz Yisrael is Eretz Yisrael, and that which grows in Chutz La'aretz is Chutz La'aretz. Omar savar ein breira. As we'll see, Rebbe holds that they mix together inside the tree. Aval gadol b'ptur, but that which grows in Chutz La'aretz, divrei akol ptur. Everybody holds it's pater. If that which grows, for example, if all the roots were in Chutz La'aretz, it's pater, even though the tree stood within 16 amas of Eretz Yisrael. And we don't say that the tree is yonik from Eretz Yisrael. What we're saying is the part of the tree that was in Eretz Yisrael belongs to Eretz Yisrael, and the part of the tree that's in Chutz La'aretz belongs to Chutz La'aretz. But we don't say that it's yonik from the other side. So the Gemara says, you're right. You know why? Because there's stone in the ground that separates it. There's a stone foundation under the ground between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. So therefore, it's not crossing. It's not being yonik one from the other. Says the Gemara, "Ihachi my timer the Rebbe." Then what's the reason of Rebbe? If there's a stone, so that means the Chutz La'aretz part is only Chutz La'aretz, and the Eretz Yisrael part is only Eretz Yisrael. What would be the reason to say that it's mixed up? Says the Gemara, the Hodrei Arve, he holds that it later mixes up in the trunk of the tree. In other words, that which grows from Eretz Yisrael mixes together with that which grows from Chutz La'aretz in the trunk of the tree. So it's all one big mishpah. What are they arguing about? Mar savar avira mevalbel. One holds that the two mix together in the trunk. Omar savar haylechudekai v'haylechudekai. Each side stays separate, and that the roots from the Chutz La'aretz side goes to the Chutz La'aretz side, and therefore that produce is chulin, and the roots from Eretz Yisrael side goes to the Eretz Yisrael side, and therefore that part is tevel. Says the Gemara, v'sheish esrei ama v'sulai. Is the tree only yoinik 16 amas? But don't we say roots go 25 amas? V'tanan marchikin es ilan min habar. You have to distance a tree from a pit chav hey ama, 25 amas. So you see it goes 25 amas. The Gemara says, yeah, it goes 25 amas, but it only receives nourishment the first 16. Rabbi Mezel Tuva Ozlai, it'll go further, it'll go 25 amas, but achushe loy michashe, it doesn't take from nourishment and weaken the ground elad sheish esrei ama, until 16 amas. Tfei loy michashe, it doesn't cause weakening of the ground, and it doesn't derive nourishment further than 16 amas. Ki asi Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi arrived, Amar boy minei Reish Lakish mi Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish inquired of Rav Yochanan, Ilon asamach l'meitze b'serich yud vav ama, a tree that's 16 amas within Mark's border, mahu, amalei gazlanhu, it's a thief, it's deriving from someone else's land, ve'ein mevi'im mimena bikurin, you can't bring from it bikurin. Whether a tree next to someone's border, or a tree that hangs over someone else's border. So if Mark has a tree near Marshall's property, within 16 amas of Marshall's property, or his branches are hanging over Marshall's property, maybe he could bring and he could say the formula. Why? This is one of the 10 takonos that Yeshua instituted when he gave the land in Yerusha to Klal Yisrael. Shamanas kein hinchel Yeshua Yisrael as aretz, that this allowance, that even if your tree is nourishing from somebody else, from your neighbor, or hanging over your neighbor's property, you could still bring bikurim and say the formula. Now, I don't have a plug here. Let's see if this works. Rich, could you see for a second? Underneath here, there's a white plug. It should be stuck into something.
Yes.
Yeah, but why isn't it charging? So it's not stuck in the right place. There must be a place there, over there, for it to go into. Yep, there you go. Okay, saves the day. Avram Sheps, we welcome you in. Okay, the day started slow, but we do have 27 Zoomers now. Now, Elon Shunaita L'stei Chaveroi, if Mark's tree sticks into Marshall's property. Now, Marshall, don't play around with Marshall. Marshall has to use his ox goad over his plow. So Kaites, he could cut Mark's branches to the height of Moli Amar Deal Gabe Charisha, to the height of the full ox goad over the plow. And therefore, if there's branches coming in from Mark, Marshall could cut them down so that there's room for his ox goad to go until the height of his ox goad over the plow. If it's carob and sycamore, now carob and sycamore have a lot of branches, and a lot of branches give a lot of shade. That's no good for Marshall's field. So Keneged HaMishkos means that he could cut down all the branches until the plumb line of his property. A plumb line is when they drop with a weight and it goes straight down. So he says all the branches from the carob and sycamore trees of Mark, he's just lopping them off. Beis HaShlochin, if it's in a field that survives on irrigation, a Beis HaBala is a field that survives on rainwater, a Beis HaShlochin is a field that survives on irrigation. Kol ha'ilon keneged ha'mishkos. No tree, no branches are good, so he could cut down all the branches of the tree, and Reuven, if it kills the tree, it kills the tree. You know, he has no right for it to cross. Mark has no right to cross into Marshall's property.
So why doesn't he just cut the whole tree down?
No, he doesn't. He might survive without cutting the tree down. And he doesn't have the right to touch Mark's tree. Let it fall if it falls. He only has the right to touch what's coming into his property.
There you go.
Abishol says, Kol ilon srak keneged hamishkolos. All non-fruit-bearing trees, he could cut down at the plumb line of his property. Now, whether Abishol is going on the Reisha or the Seifa, the Gemara is going to talk about in a second, and as the Gemara does right now. Ibayalu. Abishol ha-Reisha kai. Is he going on the Reisha? That the Reisha says that Mark is allowed to cut, Marshall is allowed to cut down to the height of the axe goad, and here Abishol says not just carob and shikma could be the entire tree that comes into Marshall's property, but any ilon srak, any non-fruit bearing tree. Oh, a sefer kai, or is he going on the sefer? Where in the sefer it says Beis HaShlochin. All trees could be cut down because it's injurious tree that needs irrigation, needs a lot of sunlight. And Abishol says not all trees, but only non-fruit bearing trees. So is he going on the Reisha or on the sefer? So Tajma, the Gemara will bring an authoritative answer. The Tanya Beis HaShlochin, a irrigated field, Abishol Omer Kol ha'ilon keneged hamishkos. So therefore Abishol is not going on the sefer, because Abishol agrees that in an irrigated field you could cut down all the branches that invade into Marshall's property. Any shade is bad for a field that needs irrigation. So Shmamina Reishakai, that shows that which Abishol says an Ilon Srak, he's going on the Reisha, where the Reisha says that Marshall could only cut down a regular tree up till the height of the axe goad. Abishol adds not only a carob and sycamore tree, but any non-fruit bearing tree you could cut down any part of it that invades into Marshall's land. Amar Rav Ashi, Masnisa Namideka. We can see that internally from the Mishnah also. Diktani Kol Ilon Srak. Abishol says every Ilon Srak. Now that's good if he's going on the Reisha. The Tanakama says only carob and sycamore, and he says any non-fruit bearing tree. If he's going in the Sefer, so then if he's going in the Sefer, he's limiting it from what the Tanakama says. The Tanakama says that in an irrigated field, it's any tree, and he says only a non-fruit-bearing tree, so then he shouldn't say Kol Ilon. So because he's limiting it to only a non-fruit-bearing tree. I love Shmamina Reisha, it's going on the Reisha. Shmamina, that's indeed a good proof, as we welcome in Abe Arbach for our 28th Zoomer of the evening. There is a good place to remind everybody that the principal rule of this year is even if you have to arrive late, never hesitate to arrive late. You could come in even just to say hello. Most people. Most people. Marsha, why do you think I'm talking about you? I mean,
I don't think. I know.
I mean, why would guys?
That's why I bring a note.
Yeah. Anyway, why would you think I was talking about you? You must have a wild imagination. Now,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Elon Shunaitel Rishis Rabin. Now here you have a tree whose Marshall's tree, his branches are sticking into the Rishis Rabin. A chutzpah she'en kamoyu. The guy doesn't care about anybody. So the din is, kaitates, you cut it down to what height? Kadeshi Yehei, to allow a gomel over, a camel to ride, v'roichvay. Now a camel's very tall, and it's a rider. So that's how high it should be. And the branches above that you could leave. Rabbi Yehuda says, gomel ton pishtan, a camel loaded with flax, or chaviles meiris, or bundles of twigs. Reb Shimon, no, you can't have branches sticking over the Rishus Rabbim. Branches sticking over the Rishus Rabbim is a menace for Kahanim, because there'll be an oil, and then if there's a piece of corpse on the ground, they'll become tamei. So Reb Shimon says you got to lop it off. There can't be any branches left. Reb Shimon kala ilon keneged amishkalos, the entire branches from the plumb line of the beginning of the Rishus Rabbim line, mipnei atoma, because you don't want branches creating a roof, which would be a problem of an oil. Now the Gemara says that we just cut the branches that stick out. We don't have to get rid of their source. But if we don't get rid of the source, they're going to grow back. So man tona de benizaken basar umdana da hashtazlina. We only concern ourselves with the problem now. We don't get rid of a future problem. That's an argument for Rabbi Eliezer, and it's Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanan, you can't dig Marshall. I told you this 1,000 times. You cannot dig tunnels under the Rishus Rabbim. You can't dig tunnels under the public street by pits, trenches, and caves. Rabbi Eliezer says Marshall could do it if he fortifies the street of the Rishus Rabbim that a wagon could pass with full of stones. If he fortifies the Rishus Rabbim that it could withstand a wagon full of rocks, then he could do it. Rabbi Eliezer matter b'chtei egla ma'aleches u'tu'unas avonim. So obviously, Rabbi Eliezer doesn't allow it because, the Tanakama doesn't allow it because the Tanakama says we're worried that later on it's going to wear out and it's going to cave in after too many wagons go over it. Rabbi Yechon no, I feel a tamer Rabbanan. It could even be going according to Rabbanan. Why? Hasam, over there, the Rabbanan hold you can't do it because you're not going to realize that it weakens and there might be a cave-in. Zimnin the mafkis, the floor will erode, v'lavadaite, and you won't realize the slow erosion, and there will be a cave-in, a sinkhole. Aval over here, it's no problem. If it grows back again, we'll lop it again. As soon as it grows back again, we'll cut it off again. We don't have to take away the source. As soon as it starts growing into the Rishus Rabbim again, we'll lop it off again. Now, remember we said 2 shiurim. One shiur is we lop the branches to the height of a camel and its rider, and the other one says we do it a animal with flax or an animal with twigs. Which one is higher? Rabbi Yehuda mi going to pishtin or chavila ismaris. Ibayelu shiur de Rabbi Yehuda nafish. Is the amount of Rabbi Yehuda more, or duma shiur de Rabbanan nafish? Or is the amount of the Rabbanan more? Is the amount of the rider more, or is the amount of the camel full of flax more? Says the Gemara, Pshita de shiur de Rabbanan nafish. It's obvious that the shiur of the Rabbanan of a camel and its rider is more. That the shira of Rabbi Yehuda is more. Rabbanan b'shira Rabbi Yehuda eichi avnei. Why aren't the Rabbanan concerned with a camel and its flax, or a camel and its twigs? The elamai shiru Rabbanan nafish. The shear of the Rabbanan is more, the camel and rider. So then, why isn't Rabbi Yehuda concerned about the camel and the rider? Rabbi Yehuda b'shira Rabbanan my ovid. That's the point. Rabbi Yehuda holds we're not worried about a camel and a rider, because the rider could bend down his head. So therefore, he's only worried about a camel laden with flax. The camel and his rider could bend down his head. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says if it could accommodate an animal with flax or an animal with twigs, the rider, he'll bend down his head a little bit. Reb Shimon says, Kol ilon keneged hamishkailas, all the branches to the plumb line of the Rishus Harabim, mipnei atoma, because we don't want an oil over tuma. Tana mipnei oil atoma, in order that there shouldn't be a tent over tuma. So the Gemara says, Pshita, mipnei atoma tanan. Says the Gemara, no, I might think it means like this. I might think you have to cut down the branches because we're afraid that a raven might bring a piece of corpse and throw it on top of the branches. And if that's all that you have to worry about, then all you have to do is thin out the branches so that a piece won't get stuck on top. A raven might bring, or a crow might bring a piece of corpse, vishadi awesome, and throw it on top of the branches, and then a kohen will pass underneath. But if that's the case, then it would be enough just to thin it out. Kamash Malan, no, that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about that there might be a piece of corpse on the ground, and then when you walk, if there's something over you, it's not enough to thin it out, because as long as there is no tefach in between the branches, it's going to be a roof, and it's going to be a roof over, so therefore we have to lop off all of the branches. Kamash Malan. Hadrulach lo yachbar, hadrulach lo yachbar, hadrulach lo yachbar. Now, Rabbi say, remember, tomorrow night there's no shir, because we have the Q&A at the Irgun. If you have Facebook, you could listen to it live on Facebook. I believe that you could also listen to it, you'll be able to listen to it live on Kol HaLashon. I'm going to try to record it for Kol HaLashon. And I will take my recorder so I could record it. So it will be, and of course later on it'll be available on TorahAnytime.com and YouTube. It's live at 9 o'clock. Now we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis,